If you want to understand which financial blockchain protocols to invest in order to profit from the global rollout of central bank digital currencies, well then this video is for you. Central bank digital currencies are coming and they are going to launch much sooner than anyone would have expected. And this thanks to the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, also known as SWIFT. Today, close to 90% of the world's central banks are exploring releasing digital versions of their currencies. Parallel, we are seeing growing popularity of cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. The fact that Bitcoin has recently surpassed its all-time high of US 69,000 will make it easier for central banks across the globe to implement the CBDC. While many leading central banks don't want to lose their role in their domestic region and be left behind by blockchain-based payment technologies such as DeFi protocols or Web3 infrastructure providers, there are specific complexities such as interoperability for all central banks bringing CBDCs to market. Perhaps one of the biggest issues remaining is how a global standard will be defined, with CBDCs set to roll out in markets across the globe from the US to Japan. Once these domestic CBDC issues have been overcome, SWIFT plans to be ready, up and running so to speak, to integrate independent CBDCs from all global central banks into a wider ecosystem. The interoperable banking infrastructure needed to connect them all will finally be delivered by SWIFT. Now there's one thing that is questioning my mind, and that is that the US Federal Reserve, cautious as they are, doesn't want to give the American people the feeling that the CBDC is just around the corner. You see, Jerome Powell last month, March 2024, claimed that the Fed hasn't come to any conclusion to propose legislation that would authorize a digital dollar. In fact, he stated, "We are just a long, long way from that."
We are not getting ready to, we haven't proposed, we haven't come to a conclusion that we should propose or anything like that, that Congress consider legislation to authorize a digital dollar. And it would take legislation by Congress signed by the president to give us the ability to do what we think of as a CBDC, which is really a retail CBDC with the public of it. So we're just a long, long way from that.
Now, he did say that the Fed is researching the pros and cons regarding the CBDC, as it is required from the Fed as they serve the people. Very honorable from him. He did also acknowledge that the issue of CBDC has been the front burner for the past 5 to 6 years. He does, however, then go on to say that they have people trying to understand things, but it's wrong to say we are working on a CBDC.
And so we to serve the public, these issues have become very front burner in the last 5 or 6 years. We need to be knowledgeable about all that. So we actually do have people trying to understand things that are, but it's wrong to say that we're working on a CBDC.
The same month, last month, on March 7, 2024, Jerome Powell also said the following: "If we were ever to do something like that, and we are very, very long way from even thinking about it, we would do this through the banking system. The last thing we would want is to have individual accounts for all or any Americans. Only banks have accounts at the Federal Reserve, and that's the way we're going to keep it. So we are just following technologies as it evolves. People don't need to worry about a central bank digital currency. Nothing like that is remotely close to happening anytime soon."
First of all, I want to say that we're nowhere near recommending or let alone adopting a central bank digital currency in any form. So if we were to ever to do something like this, and we're a very long way from even thinking about it, we would do this through the banking system. The last thing we would want, the Federal Reserve would want, would be to have individual accounts for all Americans, or any Americans for that matter. Only banks have accounts at the Fed. And that's the way we're going to keep it. So it's just really, it's a question of following technology as it evolves and in a way that serves the public better. People don't need to worry about a central bank digital currency. Nothing like that is remotely close to happening anytime soon.
Well, I think that you and we can agree on one thing, that based on Jerome Powell's comments, he is signaling that the US digital dollar is not a real priority for the Fed. Well, I would beg to differ. And not only will I try to verify my point of view to you that the CBDC is coming soon, I will also, and that's the most important part of this video, help you identify the future financial trends and name some of the potential true DeFi projects of tomorrow's global financial system, so that you can pick them up long before mainstream even knows that the future of finance is being built right in front of our eyes, and it's being built on the blockchain. On Ethereum, to be specific. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the first recommendation. My name is Nico Arachi, and I'm the host of Crypto Never Sleeps and Investors Reality. Now, it is true that the Federal Reserve hasn't taken a lead position on rolling out the CBDC. But since the Fed, the US deep state, are the largest stakeholders of some very influential financial service institutions, they have kind of outsourced the development, launch, and implementation to the following institutions. The Bank for International Settlements, also known as BIS, is an international financial institution which is owned by member central banks. And its primary goal is to foster international monetary and financial cooperation while serving as a bank for central banks. So basically, the BIS is the mother of all central banks. And since January 2020, and I believe actually even earlier, the BIS has been working on developing a global CBDC. In fact, these 7 banks were part of the launch team. The Bank of Canada, European Central Bank, Bank of Japan, Sveriges Riksbank, Swiss National Bank, Bank of England, and the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve have all collaborated on a report setting out common foundational principles and core features of a CBDC. Also, the IMF is heavily involved but currently takes more of a promotional role. And most recently, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, also known as SWIFT, has announced major developments that will help launch the future financial system on the blockchain. SWIFT is a member-owned group that provides secure financial communications for its members. SWIFT was founded in the 1970s, around the same time the US abandoned the gold standard. Today, more than 11,000 banks in over 200 countries use the SWIFT network to complete financial transactions. So SWIFT is planning to launch a new platform in the next 1 to 2 years to connect the rise of central bank digital currencies that are being developed and launched in the global financial market. And SWIFT's new platform will create a network of CBDC platforms, marking one of the most significant steps in the new, exciting CBDC ecosystem. So it is expected that SWIFT's network will launch as and when the first major CBDC currencies are released to the market. Now let's get back to the Fed. More specifically, let's have a look at the executive summary titled Money and Payments, the US dollar in the age of digital transformation, issued in January 2022. We want to look at the section Intermediated, and I'm going to read it loud. The Federal Reserve Act does not authorize direct Federal Reserve accounts for individuals, and such accounts would represent a significant expansion of the Federal Reserve's role in the financial system and the economy. Under an intermediated model, the private sector would offer accounts or digital wallets to facilitate the management of CBDC holdings and payments. Potential intermediaries could include commercial banks and regulated non-bank financial service providers and would operate in an open market for CBDC services. Although commercial banks and non-banks would offer services to individuals to manage their CBDC holdings and payments, the CBDC itself would be a liability of the Federal Reserve. An intermediated model would facilitate the use of the private sector's existing privacy and identity management frameworks, leverage the private sector's ability to innovate, and reduce the prospects for destabilizing disruptions to the well-functioning US financial system. You see, this section gives us a clear indication of what's to come. This transformation involves 2 potential investment strategies. Short banking stocks and go long, which means buy Web3 DeFi blockchain protocols that can be classified as intermediaries. And these include automated market makers like Uniswap, lending protocols and liquidity providers like Aave, Compound, Curve, MakerDAO, and Synthetix. What is so revealing here is that the obvious fact that the CBDC itself would be a liability of the Federal Reserve reveals everything. Because in today's financial system, deposits are a liability of the commercial banks, enabling them to issue credit, which in turn is their main source of income. So once you take that away, they will go bust. Hence, this is why independent Web3 DeFi intermediaries will emerge as the new dominance, as they will provide traditional financial services such as issuing credits and over-collateralized loans against Fed-issued CBDCs liable only to the Federal Reserve. So before we end, I'll always give you my 2 cents on the dollar. I mean, there's so many things you can take out of this executive summary. Also, for example, that the Fed is writing that they want to leverage the private sector's ability to innovate. Because the Web3, the future of finance, is all about innovation. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you understood it, agreed with it. Or if not, then let me know. Come join the live streams. We will talk about them. And that's all I got to say about that. Do your own research. None of this is financial advice. My name is Nico Arachi, and I'm the host of Crypto Never Sleeps and Investors Reality.